In 1932, Australia declared war, not on another country, but on birds. Yes, birds, emus, to be exact. And what followed was one of the most bizarre military campaigns in history, the Great Emu War. And the birds won. After World War I, many Australian veterans were given land in Western Australia as part of a government resettlement scheme. But farming was hard, the soil was tough, and the economy had started to fall apart during the Great Depression. Then came the emus. In late 1932, over 20,000 emus migrated to the farming lands near Campion, searching for food and water. The giant flightless birds trampled fences, destroyed crops, and made a mess of the land the veterans were trying to survive on. The farmers pleaded with the government. Their solution: send in the army. Minister of Defense Sir George Pearce approved a military operation. He dispatched soldiers led by Major G.P.W. Meredith, along with 2 Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition, to fight the emus. Yes, the Australian Army went to war with emus. On November 2, 1932, the operation began. Scene reenactment or animation. Soldiers lined up, guns ready. Emus were spotted. They opened fire, and the birds scattered. Turns out, emus are fast, up to 50 kilometers per hour, and incredibly hard to shoot while running. The soldiers struggled to get even a few kills. In one engagement, 1,000 rounds were fired, and only a dozen birds were hit. Major Meredith later reported, "If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world." After several failed attempts, the army regrouped. They mounted machine guns on trucks, but the terrain was too bumpy, and the birds were too agile. The soldiers managed to kill around 200 emus, but used thousands of bullets. It was a public embarrassment. Newspapers ridiculed the campaign. People asked, how can a modern military lose to a bunch of birds? On December 10, 1932, the operation was called off. The official campaign ended in failure. The Australian government quietly withdrew its military support, and the soldiers returned, humiliated not by an army but by flocks of oversized birds. In the end, only 986 confirmed kills were recorded, though some estimates suggest it may have been slightly higher. But here's the kicker. They used over 10,000 rounds of ammunition. That's roughly 10 bullets for every emu, and many birds simply ran off, wounded, but not dead. But the consequences didn't end with just bruised military pride. The farmers were furious. Their crops were still being destroyed, and the emu population was thriving. The military withdrawal left them to face the giant birds alone. This sparked debates in Parliament and among citizens. Should the army have been involved in the first place? Instead of more military action, the government introduced a bounty system, rewarding civilians for each emu killed. This proved more effective. Farmers and hunters, using their own rifles and traps, managed to reduce the emu population more efficiently over the next few years. By 1934, over 57,000 emus had been killed through bounty programs, without the need for army involvement. In the long term, lessons were learned, though perhaps not the ones you'd expect. Australia didn't just fight emus once. Similar emu problems arose in the late 1930s and 1940s. Each time, the government opted for civilian-based solutions, avoiding another military embarrassment. Some changes were more practical. Better fencing systems were developed. Research into emu migration and behavior increased. Farmers began using scare tactics and deterrence rather than brute force. Even Major Meredith, the man in charge of the operation, reflected on it later with a touch of humor and irony. He praised the emus' tactics, joking that they had outflanked and outsmarted the soldiers at every turn. The emus proved that tactics, speed, and unpredictability could triumph over guns and gear, he said in a 1932 interview. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this absurd moment in history.